All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This Friday before the holiday season. I know everyone's been super busy, and I'm super excited to touch base with everybody today and to have my amazing guests with us from Rome and Jackal Labs. There's such an emerging ecosystem in this kind of idea of iFi or DPEN or the basically finding new ways to fund and build infrastructure and utility types of networks. And really excited to kind of just have an open conversation. And if you're joining us from Discord or YouTube or Twitter, please feel free to ask questions for myself or the guests and interact with us. And without kind of further ado, happy to turn this over to introduce, first of all, Mario from the Althea team, if you want to say hi and tell us who you are, and then I'll do some round of introductions.
Sure. Hey, hi, everyone. I recently joined the Althea team, and I'm here to help out with community and ecosystem. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can find me on Discord or on Twitter. Happy to help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your background. I know you've been OG in the space for a while.
Yeah, if you want to call that, yeah. Sure. I mean, I think I joined crypto in late 2017, and through Bitcoin, and then kind of followed the rabbit hole down with Ethereum, and later also Cosmos, and I worked for Binance and kind of other exchanges, but then kind of found my way into decentralized finance and the whole decentralization thing. And that's, how I got interested in Althea as well in, was it 2021 or something like that, I think, is when I met you, Deborah. And been here since. And now I'm working for you guys. So excited.
Yeah, I'm super happy to have you. I think one of the kind of themes of this conversation is, really this interesting inflection point that's going to be 2025, as I think, where the ecosystem has really matured, and there's a divergence between sort of the fun, more meme coin kind of projects, and then these more serious ones really taking hold. So I'm super excited to explore that with you. Michael or Patrick, if you want to say hi.
Yeah, I can go for it. So my name is Patrick. I'm one of the co-founders of Jackal and CEO of Jackal Labs. So what we do is we build blockchains for data storage. It's a DPEN where we incentivize people to spin up storage rigs, and in return, we get to utilize idle resources, and then we can provide value to other people. Our primary clients are individuals that are building on blockchain rails. If you want to store more than 912 kilobytes, it can't really fit in the blocks, so you're going to need to get storage somewhere. So we like to make it available with a smart contract call on any chain, right? So we're on Archway, we're deploying on Base, any EVM, and and then we have APIs as well that are coming out so that we can serve other markets as well. But been building this DPEN since 2021, November, and it's been a little bit over 1,000 days, but who's counting? Excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Oh, super excited to explore more about what y'all are doing and your journey as well in the space or in evolution, and where that also intersects with telecom. Obviously, I'm curious if you're, we can explore this a little bit more later, if your providers are coming from home sort of storage solutions, or if it's like more data center.
Yeah. A little bit of both, but the telecoms are usually on the demand side for like data backups for user data or things along those lines. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, looking forward to exploring that more in the conversation. Michael, you want to share what y'all are doing?
Yes. So good evening, good morning from my side. This is Michael, the Michelangelo of mobile networks, but this time is the Rome network that I represent, of course. And what we do at the Rome network, so we turn your phone measurements into a tangible, actionable insight. So we help you actually get a better network, and we help the one providing the network optimize their network for your benefit. And our ultimate direction is that we want to create the last connectivity to the internet service that you ever need. So we want to actually make a choice from all the networks in the world that will be best suitable for you, regardless of this is a Wi-Fi network or a 5G, 4G, or 6G network in the future. And we want to make it all transparent and clear. So that's why we need the blockchain to make sure that you can see why we selected certain service and that you can trace it, why this was selected, and how you have contributed to this selection, and what happens with your data and your connection further. So that's the Roam network vision that we're building together with our community. So yeah, looking forward for this great discussion just before Christmas. Hope this is a good Christmas holiday for all our community.
Yes, absolutely, and we'll share a couple of quick announcements about what Althea is doing, and I think we have a winner of some merch as well too that Mario can share with us a little bit later. But just real quick to introduce ourselves, if those folks are joining and don't know about Althea, I am the CEO of Hawk Networks, and Hawk Networks incubated the Althea routing and billing protocol for back in 2017 as well. So we also got started kind of early in the space and have evolved sort of materially over time to now create this L1 that provides machine-to-machine payments and routing protocols, primarily in the telecom networks, that allows people, many different participants, to set up, networks or participate in the funding, operation, and building in coordination of utility types of networks. And we've been doing that for quite some time, and one of sort of the leading projects of deep in revenue. And now we're really excited to have launched the L1 earlier this year, and in this really cool integration phase and unlock kind of coming soon. So trademark. But yeah, so one of the first questions I have for everybody here on the call, I mean, it's kind of tickling my mind as we come to the end of the year, is that evolution. Obviously we've been in Jackal obviously a long time. Michael, maybe you can share a little bit of your journey, but our project has really changed in terms of how we how we built the solution. I mean, we're starting in Ethereum, and then moving to Gnosis chain, and then now the purpose-built L1. And so I'm really curious to your all's thoughts on the journey.
So our journey started with us having the idea to change the world, to build the actual network from the beginning. And to build the decentralized network of network. So actually using available 4G, 5G small cells or base stations, and then decentralizing the usage of those and the operations, enabling users to buy traffic of the internet using their wallet. But then this is actually a good vision that we can still probably do, but it's so capital intensive and time consuming that we decided with the first thing, so why do we need that? I mean, we can build it, but who is going to need it and where it's needed most? Of course, we could have some ideas and go for it, but we thought, isn't it better in the whole engineering and even in the ethos of the blockchain community to actually build it where is needed? So let's first start by building the digital twin of the world to know where these networks are needed, and then to find the network that can best fulfill these requirements, and then actually create the service. And then let's see if we still need to build the coverage by our own, or we can use an existing connectivity around it. And this is how we ended up starting now with the community first approach. Let's first build something that community can use and can check and view the service themselves, and then evolve towards the actual more technology focused approach. And at the moment, we are now focused to work with the Peak ecosystem. So this is a L1 focused on the DeepIn that just launched a couple of months ago, and we're one of the lighthouse projects on Peak, and there is a major campaign happening or will happen next year, so stay tuned for those who are following. And why we joined there? Because it's optimized for machines, or basically for our sensors, or sensors like the smartphones in everybody's pocket to start with. And that's the current direction that we're going. So let's start with sensors, and then human-centric approach to the service, and then build the other technology as we need to build. But we are trying to focus on community requirements first, and then technology following the requirements.
Yeah, go ahead, Jackal. Go ahead.
It's super interesting, right? It's when you talk about like the journey to get here, what's special about DPINs, right? You look at kind of things that were traditionally built on these rails are single dimensional, right? It's just you build the front end and you kind of use the blockchain kind of like a spreadsheet of who has what stuff at what time, and then off you go. You can get to market really fast. Something I'm sure we're all familiar with is the multi-dimensional nature of DeepIn networks. You need to get like 5 things right perfectly for one thing to work. So in our case, you need the storage peer-to-peer network, you need the consensus engine, you need custom modules, you need blah, 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 blah. And all these things have to be perfect for us to just provide storage. So I'm going to buy storage and store stuff. Takes time. It takes a lot of work. We're on version 4. So the journey was we were trying to build a product for digital forensics. That's our background on Polygon. And then we needed the storage layer, but there was no on-chain permissions for kind of clean forensic environments that existed. So then we're like, okay, we need privacy and we need storage. So we built on the Secret network, and then we use Filecoin for cold storage. And then after that, we realized that Filecoin is great for archiving, but it's not good for like a hot storage environment. It takes like 24 hours to get your files back. Great if you want to put stuff to rest. It's extremely cheap and it's wonderful for that. And then the Secret network, it was really expensive for gas and our unit economics blew up. So we started with that. And then we had to move to a Cosmos L1, built the Cosmos L1 blockchain. That exploded. And then we had to build it again and again and again. So now we're on version 4 of our protocol, and it's looking pretty steady and scalable right now. But that's the beauty of this stuff, right? It's kind of like the biotechs or the deep tech engineering SpaceX's or robotics companies of blockchain. That's how I like to see it, at least, where it's pretty intense. And they haven't been the flavor of the month until very recently. I'm sure we've all noticed, right? It takes a long time for these to get to market. It takes a long time for these to hit parity with traditional solutions. And it takes a while for us to actually figure out and find product market fit and get profitable. So that's why I'm excited. It's there's teams like we've been building since 2017 or 2021. We're just about to get to market and really show the value. And you guys are showing awesome stats on profitability and things like that. And it's great to see. So I'm excited about where we're going. We're excited about all our stuff that's coming in the sense of like deploying outposts on other chains with smart contracts that mimic our blockchain and all that good stuff. But I'll stop rambling at this point. I'll kick it back to you, Deborah.
Yeah, no, I definitely resonate with like all of these pieces of the journey as we've sort of taken a similar path ourselves. Yeah, I'm curious so Patrick, where's your protocol deployed right now? If you can maybe share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we chose to build a Cosmos L1. So obviously when you're going to build these things, you have like kind of like a tech liquidity trade-off. So you could either optimize for liquidity and then deploy your own chain eventually once you hit scalability ceilings. But we hit those ceilings pretty early, unfortunately for us. So we needed to build our own chain. So we're Cosmos L1 built. We have about like 5 or 6 custom modules, and it's an entire chain just for data storage. And it's an entire chain built for only data storage. And we like to provide value cross chain using our custom bridging, and people can use our chain from other chains with smart contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the really appealing things that we looked at when building our tech stack as well. And you know, we from starting with Ethereum and, you know, some of the gas challenges there, obviously we looked at doing a payment channels. It still was, you know, especially when you think about microtransactions, and then we evolved to the Gnosis chain environment, which was a great place for us to really gather, you know, users and iterate on the protocol. Now we have thousands of people that use this as their daily, you know, platform for providing internet and broadband services, moving into the mobile space. But yeah, I think what's really appealing is that like the Althea L1 can bridge very easily, or you can do, maybe if folks aren't familiar, there's something called interchain account. So Jackal and Althea could, you could have an account on Jackal and was, you know, had smart contracts that, or vice versa, right? There could be an account on Althea that had that Jackal smart contracts interacted with. And so that is one of the very neat things about how these infrastructure projects start to, you know, interconnect. And maybe, Michael, you could speak about that too, because I know you and I have had lots of conversations about how Althea chain and the Roam protocol, can work together, especially since from a lot of our demand comes from enterprise users or telecom carriers who are looking for these kinds of data that you're crowdsourcing. So yeah, just curious about those on that side, or either one of y'all can riff on that point.
Yeah. So one of the ideas that let's say you want to build a dedicated network, or you just want to evaluate in the area that you operate, whether this is a warehouse or whether this is a construction yard or a harbor or any type of area, you want to check what is the status and what is the performance of the public networks around you, and you would like to know what kind of a technical setup, meaning what kind of frequency and other parameters you can optimize around the space, and or if you have multiple spectrum licenses, maybe this is a bit technical stuff, but what could be the best technology to use to build your network. So this is a very straightforward status that instead of driving hours away or sending a professional to drive, you can ask our own community if there is a person nearby that can be just there, do a drive testing, can just go perform the test with a smartphone, create a valuable insight, and then share this with the community, and especially with the entity that has in need or order the measurement, and this creates value in the system. So you as a user get to benefit and to create additional value that, of course, you could be fairly compensated for. The community gets to see how their work in this particular example has created real value, and then the enterprise customer or the system integrator, in this case, basically somebody that wants to integrate such private network, get to receive a service, of course, be able to pay less or pay in a more efficient way for the delivery of that. So I think this is one of the examples that we have evaluated. But of course, another way would be that if somebody just want to make sure that whenever they buy in bulk subscription, or they need to send equipment with embedded SIM card to a destination, they can check in advance if the service that they're buying from has the right type of quality and performance that they expect, and otherwise they can always change or go to somebody else. This is a second type of use case that I believe we discussed and could also be quite relevant in this example. And the capability to now be able to monitor this and to make sure that everybody gets participation in a no trust environment, I think could be especially true, because I mean, ultimately, this is a community that you don't have to know the person that is delivering the service. As long as they're doing the right thing, they should get the right reward for the actual action. So I think that's a good example of the whole ethos of the blockchain to start with.
It's really interesting. It's tech stack decisions are always hard, right? And there's always trade-offs. no matter what you choose, you're trading off for something. But my thought process has always been, we don't want to, like, we have so much data that are going through the blocks because all the storage providers have to submit proofs that they have files. So our blocks like fill up really, really quick and all that stuff, right? Gas was an issue on other chains because using economics, but if that's not a case, then there's no need to kind of build your own chain and go like the hard route that way. The only thing for us was our blocks were full, and we were filling the blocks, and having to share block space with other applications is what made it really difficult for us. So we were kind of forced this direction, and our hand was a little bit forced when we made the decision to go to the engineering challenge of building our own L1 just for storage and nothing else. So it's a little bit different.
Well, but I think that it's kind of a salient point, because we're seeing what we think of as the economy and communications really changing. I mean, it really is like it's going to be a data economy. I think that Althea's always had this premise that the rental economy of access to broadband is very fundamentally flawed. This idea of speeds are also, legacy, right? So Althea has like choice of cost or latency to access, really pushing, who can participate in the network. And then that data and compute storage is going to move to the edge. And so this is one of I think all of us sort of are in this interesting intersection as the kind of this great disruption in infrastructure and the way we think about the internet, compute, storage, machine communication, and payments is really fundamentally changing. I think what's so exciting is we're seeing all these different sort of applications, Michael and Patrick, what you are doing kind of interact on that plane. And I'm not how early do you think we are? To me, it feels like we got started 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. That was early then, but I feel like we're right at that inflection point.
I feel more early than I felt back in 2021 right now. In 2021, I thought I was late. But like,
yeah,
you think about it, it comes down to what I'm excited about for this tech stack and adoption of this tech stack is because it's a way for traditional businesses to have an opinion on this technology without investing in speculative things that they don't understand. And I think that's very special. Where you have these unit economic advantages when you're coming to market. If we can hit cloud parity, there's a very, like for our example, I say cloud parity, like if I hit parity with an AWS just for storage through S3, you have this very interesting advantage where our unit economics or CapEx is zero, or operational expenses, so our OpEx is automated into the chain completely. We have a team of 15 engineers. That's all we need. Obviously the marketing and like we have a little bit of like outbound sales stuff. But when you look at the unit economics, the competitive advantages from that, you layer on payment processing where you're taking payments from 5% down to less than 1%. That's the working capital improvements that we have as a competitive advantage, and the value that we can provide to the marketplace is pretty special. So I'm excited about the adoption of blockchain technology using traditional metrics that people understand, right? I think we're also at an inflection point where we're going down a direction of, we have a lot of venture push. So like people raise capital and VCs invest into startups. We don't have a lot of liquid funds and we don't have a lot of private equity in this space. So there's no pull yet, right? So the demand side's pretty difficult.
Yeah, don't you think? I think RWAs are really going to change that.
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah.
I mean, we're definitely seeing that. I mean, we have an RWA called Liquid Infrastructure that tokenizes the telecom, and fractionalizes it as allowed participation. And we're getting a lot of interest on the more traditional fund side on that, and that's certainly part of how we're thinking about it. But yeah, I think you're right, but it's changing, right? Especially with ETFs sort of normalizing that. We had the opportunity to actually be at the New York Fed twice this in 2024 to talk about this emerging asset classes. So yeah, I agree that like before it was so venture focused that it maybe even changed and the incentive structure to not necessarily be conducive to longer term projects. But I'm hopeful it's changing. It seems like it is.
Not even that. I've heard through the grapevine that there's an individual named, he's ex-Parify, his name's Santiago Santos. And what he's doing right now is he's raising a private equity fund, which is interesting, where instead of like we could wait another 5 years for people to start to adopt this technology, but he's taking a completely different approach. And he thinks that the tech stack's ready for the acquisition of companies and just spinal transplant onto blockchain rails. Which is really interesting from that standpoint, where you can take a company. I think he's looking at mobile carriers right now, which is interesting, where you can take a mobile company that has, let's say, like a gross profit of 5%. If you move them to blockchain rails, you're going from 5% to 10, 20% gross profit because of the infrastructure arbitrage. And now you just did a Houdini trick and doubled your EBITDA, tripled your EBITDA overnight. Right. So things like that are pretty fascinating to me. We live in a very special moment in time right now, in my opinion, that you have this opportunity to take traditional companies, move them onto blockchain rails, and actually have meaningful impact for the bottom line, or actually have value provided to those companies, rather than just hopping on the bandwagon just because it's the flavor of the month, right? Every 5 years, we're all cool again, right? But it's interesting.
Michael, I'm curious your perspective too. I mean, I know you have a long background in telecom and have definitely seen a lot of the, telecom has certainly had its. I mean, blockchain is not unique in boom and bust cycles, and telecom as well. So yeah, I'm just curious, Michael, your perspective on the on what Patrick's saying.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm typically giving the example of how do they call an Irish bar in Ireland, or an Irish pub, actually, which is a well-known term, right? Irish pub. I mean, it's just called a pub. And I think the answer here is that as long as we call it with a non-industrial specific name, an industrial topic like telematics, or we call finance, or we call it telecom with something that have decentralized in front, we're still not talking about the industry, we're calling about technology. Because for all that matters, blockchain is as good as technology as the cloud is, or like the internet is, and nobody calls it the internet anymore. You call it for what you're doing. So and same as the so-called Internet of Things use cases. It was the hype when I started doing Internet of Things in 2010. It was even called machine to machine. Now almost nobody calls it for like this. It's just the industry-specific topic. And I think now we are almost at the inflection point beyond the hype of the blockchain to be used in industrial or specific use cases. I think for the decentralized finance, we are there. It's actually use case for finance, for transactional value, or even storage of value. I think what the Bitcoin is doing now is a great example of that. I think you guys in the US are leading the world in that ideas. Let's see what happens in the next year. I think in our industry, the so-called terminology of decentralized physical infrastructure, which means everything and nothing in reality, we're now seeing specific use cases being targeted, like how we can optimize weather forecasting by getting more accurate data, how we can do better airline traffic control by collecting information about the airplane, how we can do better mobile networks by allowing people to get information from them, and so forth. So I think we're getting there. The actual proof would be, of course, in the pudding, as they say, in a good old place where they eat pudding. And we have to consume the service, and we have to pay the right value for it, to be clear. Otherwise, it's all going to be just a demo or an extended demo without any enterprise adoption. So it has to bring value to the enterprise, or to the the paying customer, which is not the community, right? Community, at least in my mind, is not just is not a customer because they don't pay for it. When they start paying, then it becomes a different service that you have to do for them. But otherwise, we have to create value for somebody who can consume it and can optimize the use case with a good old-fashioned metrics. So use case before and use case after. How did they optimize the bottom top line? How do they achieve something which was not there before? As long as we're doing that, I think we're creating something of a specific industrial value, and then it will be valuable on its own. Otherwise, we're still creating technology, which, although cool, right? I think we can talk about cryptographics and everything for as long as the night goes on. Probably the next one will be quantum computing or whatever happens with AI. But as long as we just do technology, is not real business.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I really appreciate, I think that's kind of unique to this group here, really looking at the value, that we're driving. And for folks that are following Althea, please take a look at our really exciting announcement on the partnership with Hawk Networks and Globalstar yesterday. I'm really excited about how that, that attraction and that partnership, really is transformative for, like you're saying, Michael, the real, value and legacy partners. So for folks that maybe haven't seen it yet, go check out our Twitter or LinkedIn here to learn more, or you can Google the press release between Globalstar and Hawk Networks. Has some really exciting information. So that actually kind of leads me into, this is the end of the year. It's been kind of a crazy amount of deadlines for us. Curious how y'all are thinking 2025 is going to be. I think there's a lot of interesting world socioeconomic things that are going to make 2025 a bit of a wild year. Curious if y'all have any crazy predictions on, what's 2025 going to bring us. Maybe you can also share what's 2025 going to bring for your protocols as well.
Yeah, I can start with this. 2025. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone 2025. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's been crazy for a while, right?
It's we're pretty deep in the trenches here, shipping upgrades. So for us, right? So the way that we look at distribution is twofold, right? We have two very different customers that care about different things. We have the blockchain developers. They want everything programmable at the chain level. They want smart contracts or AI agents or whatever it might be to have access to their own storage account completely on chain and pay for it that way. And also you have web developers that want to build web scale applications on these rails. So our goal is we want to turn every protocol into a Jackal storage chain. So we take our blockchain modules, we have the interchain accounts controller contract that we adapted from Solidity. We know that one. We like that one. Shout out Serdar at the ICF. But essentially, we're taking that, we're deploying it on every EVM that has, and we're power ranking by developers. So we want every blockchain to have access to storage with a simple smart contract call from that side, because they care about self-custody and on-chain and programmable privacy and all that good stuff that they care about. That's the values that we bring them. When we look at like Web 2, when we deal with our telecoms, or we have other people that are backing up camera footage and things like that, they don't care about kind of self-custody and decentralization. They care about their ability to have multi-region geo-distributed backups that are verifiable and auto-heal from the protocol level, which is cool. So for them, they want an API and they want to go to town with it. So we're just really focused on distribution for this next year. API for the Web 2 folks, and then outpost model on every chain worth its weight, so that we can really give access to developers the scalable storage that they need. Outside of that, I don't know. Like, we have some thoughts around acquisition strategies or using the foundation to acquire businesses and then move them onto our rails, because we can have improvements that way. So rather than kind of going down a grants playbook, we're actually thinking about an acquisition playbook that's pretty interesting, where you can force adoption that way, which would be interesting.
Yes, I'd interrupt. I'm curious about that. What sorts of businesses would you think about acquiring?
Anything that has the biggest line item being storage. So if your biggest line item is S3 storage cost, then we can take that, slash it by 20x, and then your company is now worth a lot more than what we purchased it for. And the only downside is the technical knowledge needed to swap. Like, it's literally a spinal transplant for the business. And so to have the technical ability to do that, a lot of people won't do it because it's scary. Because you can get a spinal transplant, but you can run twice as fast, jump twice as high. They're just like, like, that sounds kind of painful. I don't know about that. But we know that it can work. So things like microservice backups, MS365 backups, or kind of plugging into those suites for MSP providers. So like managed service providers that like are like the tech guys for other industries, for example. We're also thinking about essentially anything that has a really big line item being storage would be an acquisition target.
Gotcha. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, Michael, I'm curious, like, what's 2025 look like for Rome or the world, or anything you want to share?
I think to follow up of what Patrick was just saying. So yeah, imagine that we can actually we could have predictability for everything that it's set to be blockchain based, which for me would be the potential scenario in which there is a regulatory breakthrough for the DePIN especially, so that we don't have to wonder, are we doing a utility, are we doing whatever payment or digital currency or not, so that we can actually try to focus on business and not just spend money on legal and regulation and and how to plan the next round, so that we're not caught up in a class action suit. I think the value is there, and the good intentions have to be executable, and not just to be. Of course, there has to be a certain level of protection against the scammers, which are still majority of the problems in any blockchain technology, unfortunately. But I think this regulation in breakthrough that could happen, maybe something that can enable us to do better business, all of us. On the technology, I still think that there will be a huge convergence of the AI plus blockchain as an actual use cases. Then how this could link to the deepin is finally we can have the convergence of the so-called Internet of Things technology plus cloud plus AI. Maybe that will be the next frontier. And then what is there for us? I mean, we would like to use this for the right purpose, meaning that we can get that insight and all the measurements to partner with the actual telco sector, and then to start enabling those connections so we can select the best operator for your service, for your requirement. And then we can actually jointly as a sector move into the better space so that user don't have to worry, should I change my SIM card or should I get the right connectivity? And actually finally able to do the service that we want to do. Whether this happens next year, I don't know. I mean, let's start with the simple things. Let's get a bit better climate to operate as an industry, so that we call it for what it is, and then let's move forward. I think this would be a good direction, a good New Year's wish, as somebody may call it, under the Christmas tree. Let's put a little back with let's get a climate that is easier to operate, so we don't have to worry about that to start.
I like that a lot. I don't know what it's like where you're calling in from, but in the United States and Canada, it seems like the design space opened up, which is nice, right? It's kind of gone from being in the enemy of the state bucket to the innovation bucket, and it feels very nice. That like 20 cents for every dollar that we earn goes to legal. Before now it's like not that much. So it's kind of nice that it's nice that we're able to innovate and the design space is opening, and like you touch on like scams and things like that as well. I think that's just a byproduct of innovation, right? You had ships, pirates showed up. You had railways, bandits showed up. You had email, the Nigerian prince scam started showing up, right? Obviously, if you have blockchain, something similar is going to happen. So I think there's always going to be bad actors in the space, but as long as we just stay focused, that's what I'm excited about.
I mean, it's a good point. So we are in Europe, so we have the European leadership on regulation, right? As US is leading on innovation, Europe is leading on regulation. I think this is interesting. What the new narrative in the US, and how great America again could actually become great world. Make world a better place to do business again, because everybody will follow if this opens up in US. I think. Asia would follow, and Europe has to follow, because otherwise it's not competitive. So I somehow am a believer that this, when everybody has good intention and tries to work in a well-natured way forward, things would do better if you just try to regulate everything and you use the bat of the law just to hammer things back into the previous well-protected spaces. So, but. It's Christmas. Let's be positive, right?
What would be worse if they blanket regulated everything? Oh my goodness! Imagine we were all had to be treated. Every single token or every single blockchain network was treated like it's all finance products. Like, how bad would that be for our products? That's something that scares me the most out of anything, is regulation. Like, I'd rather have lack of regulation than regulation that's not informed, because imagine every single time you buy storage on Jackal, that's a capital gain event. That kind of ruins the unit economics a little bit, doesn't it? Right? It's very, that's what's scary. I want them to like take stable coins and regulate them like money markets, and then move down the stack into the finance and the lending and then the DePIN. Everything kind of having its own regulation, because you can't just regulate software like it's all the same, because it's not, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely evolving, and I think I think one of the kind of core tenets that erodes, that has been eroded kind of as the ecosystem has developed, is that open participation. I think, to your point, Patrick, some of those like ideas around regulation could limit participation in these open ecosystems. And that's why I think it's important that as we're building, we think about things like neutrality and open participation and true, agency and decentralization, right? Because oftentimes many of these chains actually do just look like corporations. that are actually just still centrally controlled, right? So we really haven't done anything meaningfully. And so when regulation comes in, that's what happens, right? They're just regulating a corporation that just sort of ends up being on chain versus a true decentralized ecosystem. So I think that's one of the things that we have to be vigilant and understand what it is that true revolution that we are hopefully building, as a movement, as opposed to just sort of taking existing legacy things and recreating them in different ways.
I couldn't agree more. I just always worry about because you need, with the case law right now, sufficient decentralization. Like what is that? I mean, it just hit my microphone. Sorry about that for everyone's ears. But what is decentralization? It's a feature, and it's a sliding scale as well, right? The more decentralized it is, often also the slower it is. Often also the more difficult it is to use. The less decentralized that it is, the faster it is, the easier it is to use, the better user experience likely. So it's like this weird kind of paradigm where you don't really know where's the buck stop. Is a Cosmos chain decentralized with 100 validators that are all over the world? I don't know.
I think it doesn't have to be that dichotomy. And I think there's so much power in the unlock of distributed resources. I mean, I got started even in distributed resources with a thing that called folding at home. Even before, Satoshi wrote his white paper, there was folding at home, and people just volunteered their compute resources in order to help scientists fold proteins for greater good, right? And it's that project still exists today. It's resilient, and it's a way for us all to come together and coordinate. And to me, that really shows, and of course now Bitcoin and all the other blockchains that have subsequently followed, the key is that, and that UX is fine. When you are, to Michael's point, when you're building for a user and you have a use case, I actually don't think this idea of UX is actually that much more complicated. It really just depends on if you actually have a use case. I was gonna, try to do this conversation. One of the things I wanted to really share with everyone is like this amazing, privilege that I have in order to be able to actually see. I'm in Arizona right now, working with some of our users in apartment complexes and in the rural areas where we're building these broadband networks together with partners who are utilizing this. You can see that output of it. And, the way that these users interact with the protocol is, very much the way that you would, it's been designed so that you wouldn't even know it was blockchain.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So I think there definitely is, but, it's really about taking the time and building deliberately. I think, to your point, Michael, we can build blockchains all day long, but if we're not building deliberately, if we're not solving a problem, then they do end up looking, almost kind of in like a nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I always see people using. Sometimes things go on blockchain just because, right? And that's something that we try to get really, really far away from. For us, for example, right? Like we see it as a way that you can bootstrap CapEx and automate OpEx and go to market with a much more efficient system. That's how we see it, right? Some people see it as a way to coordinate people. Like a big change in socioeconomic coordination as we coordinate as a species around certain things. Some see it as a way to align incentives across all participants of the network, right? You have the storage providers and then the people that are purchasing storage, plus the teams that are building the protocol, and aligning all those incentives is pretty special. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like saying, what is software good for? Right? It's so, you can be so creative and you have infinite white space to build, but should everything be built? Probably not. But I think that it's exciting that we have the opportunity to be here right now and build on these rails, because who knows, right? It's blank pieces of paper. Everyone go to town, see what you can build.
There was, I was actually, even in the sort of the beginning of internet software, though, there was cat facts, right? There were people building these nonsense. Where's the, I feel like, NFTs are like in many cases, or the meme coins are like the cat facts of the blockchain world, right? We all, enjoy them, are a bit of a nuisance, but they serve their own purpose in their way too. But yeah. this might be a good time to turn it over here to Mario if you want to talk a little bit about this update we got coming up on the Althea side, and then to share who we did a contest. So maybe you can announce the winner.
Yeah, sure. So I think about 8-9 days ago, we had a little contest going on in our community where we asked our community to help us name our next upgrade that's coming out for the Althea 1 blockchain. And we had we had a theme going for it, which was Greek mythology. So we had some submissions, actually quite a lot of submissions, and yeah, we did a little digging within our team, and we came to the conclusion that we like. I mean, I hope I pronounce this correctly now. The name Tethys. I think I said this correctly. And Tethys was suggested by OnePlus. So OnePlus, I don't know if you're listening right now. Yeah, congrats on winning this small little contest that we made. We will do another Discord announcement about this as well. So if he's not on the call, he won't miss it. But yeah, congrats from the Althea team, and you will receive some awesome, very exclusive Althea merch pretty soon.
So yeah, kind of to everyone's point, we have an amazing group of validators that operate and manage the blockchain infrastructure of Althea L1, and appreciate their participation. And we have a Christmas update here that we'll be doing probably first part of the year, getting ready to go get the DPIN decks online and unlock the chain and wrap those things up. So we're excited about that. That is, another thing. Hopefully, if folks are interested, they can join the Discord, take a look at what we're building there, and we'll have more details on this. The idea of sort of a DEX that is purpose built for swapping, DPIN tokens, where enterprises can interact. Programmatically with tokens that are in the physical infrastructure space. So that's one of the exciting things we have coming up in 2025 for us as well. And if I can sort of continue the theme a little bit on 2025, I think we are at an exciting inflection point, at least in the telecom industry, where we have this blurring of kind of like what is a network, and there's a modularity to it where many people can sort of participate in the different pieces of infrastructure. And the idea of what's a private and a public network really changes. I mean, what's exciting as Althea moves into the mobile space is that you can, you can build a fully kind of private cellular network for a few $1,000s, run for your shop and your garage, and and it also allows enterprises who are paying. What we're hearing over and over again from enterprise is two things. One, they're paying a lot of money in connectivity costs, multiple billions of dollars over a projected 10-year time period to their carrier, creates a lot of funding that can then be instead utilized to build infrastructure, run their own carriers. And also there's urgency as they move to automated machines, to run factory floors and farming, agriculture, everything, industry in between. And that's really changing the landscape of who is building networks and why. And that, independent of what we're doing in the blockchain space, there are advancements in eSIM technology and core technology that have really evolved to this point where, we are getting, we are getting to a point where more people can participate. I'm curious, if you see any of those other technology and inflection points that are changing. I would assume that for you, Patrick, things have, the idea of storage is a much more higher demand now, right?
Yeah. Well, there's two things. So for on the customer side, right? Let's look at like a Web3 developer. They don't have options for decentralized storage on any chain without you're gonna have to do API spaghetti if you want it truly on chain and have self-custodial storage, or you want AI agents that don't have dementia every time you refresh the screen. We have like a really big need to build web scale applications on blockchain rails. And if you want to stay true to that decentralized self-custody ownership ethos, then we're kind of the only game in town for that. But on the other side, like Jackal makes money by getting unique terabytes onto the network. So obviously, when we go and we build these outposts on other chains, that's a bet that there'll be more blockchain developers tomorrow than there are today. And just based on the amount of storage that is needed right now on the blockchain side of things, not as crazy compared to when we look at traditional markets, right? So on the flip side, there's a lot of, for example, we were talking with an airport very recently, and their issue was they just upgraded these 8K cameras. And they have these really, really large files. For some reason, they needed 8K cameras. They got pushed into this 8K direction. Now they have these extremely large files that they can only afford to keep them for 14 days. Luckily, threat actors and people that lose their bags and I guess terrorists only work in 14-day segments, so that's pretty good. But outside of that, we have this situation where they need to store those images and they can't afford to do it with traditional cloud because it's so expensive. The ingress fees, the transfer fees, the storage fees, you're looking at like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month even just for storing footage. So a use case for them is just you can just cut that by 20x and get them a place to put their stuff. That's kind of what we're focused on, people who have really large data sets that need to put them somewhere and they can't afford, or like the unit economics is breaking or busting at the seams because of the cost of cloud storage right now.
Have you seen any, I'm just curious in general, like, I mean, there's kind of two pathways to storage and compute, right? You do see like where like there's a movement to the edge. Well, I mean, that's right. Like, what's your thoughts on kind of the balance of use case between edge storage, edge compute versus cloud?
I see that the balance right now is there's a very big gap between the cost to store things on-prem yourself, if you had the technical ability and the knowledge to do so, and the cost of cloud storage. This also kind of leads to the actual current situation that we're in, where the actual utilization ratio of drives, period, in data centers all over the place is really low relative to the demand. It's pretty interesting where you can approach data centers. Most of the people that run storage providers have to be pretty technical because it's not like a set it and forget it type of thing. You kind of have to manage it. Most of them are kind of like they work as like data center guys that are just kind of doing their thing there at home. They might have gigabit internet and they can plug their machine in and they can earn that way. But essentially, we're taking resources that are not currently utilized and then have them be sold. And if the people want their storage machines back at any time, they unplug their machine. The protocol realizes that that storage provider is now unplugged because they're not submitting proofs that they have a file. Protocol will issue more storage deals, copy from redundancy, and auto heals to 3 forms of redundancy again. So like my big thing is edge data centers. I know that there's like a big move to the edge, specifically for like AI training, and that's kind of more on the compute side. I know that there's also like a value of having people moving to the edge for actual latency of like the storage files themselves, right? Because if you're calling files from LA and you're in Tokyo, for example, it's gonna be a few milliseconds before, like layered on top of the amount of time that it takes to down that file, right? I'm not really in that game though. What we're in is we have underutilized resources that we can Uber per se, where people can have access to those resources and they can earn money on resources that they're not using right now to begin with.
So how does Rome think about storage? I mean, you guys are all about data as well, too, right? So crowdsourcing the data. I mean, we're all. There's all some sort of component of data. You know, Patrick, you're talking about latency. I mean, what's very cool about the Althea protocol, it has specificity of latency, so you can choose latency and cost on a second by second basis. It's really cool. But yeah, you know, so you have this distributed data set already from Rome. How do you think about that in terms of storage?
All right, I would love to use a evolution of the cloud storage or platform if this is available on the blockchain. But it has to make sense, right? I had some discussion with A16Z even, and of course they want to see everything decentralized, but is it ready to be used as an enterprise SLA even? At least for our use cases, if you need to have storage for large amount of small files, there is no such SQL-like database that can run now fully on chain and of GCP or Azure or GCP BigQuery, for example, because it's just maybe not meant to do that, at least the current blockchain implementation. So, I see Patrick now shaking your hand, but
no, blockchains aren't good databases. Nor do you want to build a database on blockchain rails, because like every single time you change the database, now you have to sign a transaction and you have to update that file. It's a nightmare. It's object storage, maybe bucket storage, yes. But when it comes to like databases, not really a good use case for that.
That's the problem, because otherwise, how can you make an analysis and to determine what is the best network for my purpose if I'm traveling from Finland to Indonesia and I land there and my traffic profile is that they need a couple of gigabytes per month, and I need to analyze we have about 20,000 active users in Indonesia, and they also collect data every 15 seconds. So I have to analyze this data and then to determine select certain match there, right? I need to have analytics that can run on top of the data, and for that I need some sort of a database structure, and then I need to apply some analysis there. So that's not the state of the art at the moment, but maybe it could happen. Some technologies are evolving to do some local copies and then to run those in the database and so forth. So I think this could evolve. Maybe to answer the next topic, which was what Deborah was asking about edge. Actually, one of the best examples of edge use cases are exactly coming from telecom. The story being, imagine that you need to have a campus network or an area network, a workspace type of a network. And this network needs to have local phone service. People still talk to each other, or people still need to make or send files to each other. Why this has to leave the area middle of nowhere, go to the central exchange and come back if all the data can happen locally? Of course, if you need to connect to the internet to do any other type of service, yes, but for local breakout, for local exchange of information, this is a perfect example of why you need to have on the edge. In this case, this is a VoIP service, and this is a 5 exchange or other type of services. And of course, if you need to go somewhere else, you need to go somewhere else. Of course, if you can also do content caching, can distribute content. If you are in front of a museum and everybody's downloading just the museum data or basically the information about the exhibits, yes, this is a good example of local storage. But that's the type of edge computing that's in our context in the telecom. Typically, edge in the world of information technology is considered to be same country or even same continent or even same city, maybe in the most cases. I mean, in our case now in the decentralization, we can even do it on a premise basis. And I think that will be the next efficiency gain. If the data does not need to travel and you can do optimization on that, this makes some use cases, some good use cases. And I think that's why out there we have such good touch points, what we can do and what the data can be utilized to build the right service at the right place ultimately. So I think that will be the type of interaction that we'll be maybe looking to explore in 2025 further. So, Deborah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was so excited to, hear the telecom use case mentioned. As we had, talked about before, I mean, Althea has thousands of, users and enterprise clients, now primarily in the fixed space. And what's been exciting though, and I don't know if you followed us, you've seen our progression with the 5G core, the 4G, 5G core, and basically taking that technology, making it much more flexible, making it much more affordable. I mean, if the key LTE 5G actually fits in a home router, you can go to Best Buy, go to Linksys, buy a Dynalink, put in a full 5G core, which is super exciting. And then now we've evolved with our partnership with Globalstar to really open up spectrum to building cellular networks. And this is spectrum has never been available in the way that this partnership is enabling, and it's ubiquitous across the U.S. and in 12 other countries, or 11 other countries, and this is such an exciting, unlock to building networks. And now, as we move into 2025, we have, keep an eye, because there's some exciting things coming in the next few months that will really just enable that easy button of building, mobile networks at the edge. And of course, exciting things coming with Roam and Althea as well. So keep an eye on that. I think there'll be some evolving conversations and some fun things, and maybe there will even be some stuff in the future with Jackal as well. As a fellow Cosmos SDK chain, it makes it very easy for us to interact together.
Of course. Let's get on a call. Maybe, I guess, in the new year. It's almost Christmas now. But, it would be great to chat in the new year. I got to get going because I'm late to a meeting. But thanks for having me.
Let's just real quick, everybody close out with how to get a hold of y'all, or how do people plug into Jackal and Roam?
Yeah,
and then we'll close out with Mario. You can tell us about all of our.
Awesome. I'll start because I got to run. Best place for us is our website, jackalprotocol.com, Twitter, jackal_protocol, and you can find all of our stuff from the website for our Discord and Telegram. We're always available. DMs are always open for our team, and we'd love anyone to come nerd out with us. We're pretty technical guys, and we really enjoy people coming and chatting about the infrastructure itself. But thanks for having me. Take it
Thanks
easy,
for being here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Happy holidays.
Good to meet you, Patrick. Run away. Okay, cool.
All right, Roam. How do we plug into Roam? How do we? I have the app on my phone as well. So I think that they've done a great job. And what I love about Roam Protocol is also that the app is useful information. So not only do you, of course, utilize that information that can be used with enterprise and telecom applications, it's also useful for the end user as well too. So just a quick shout out. You guys got a good job with that.
Thank you, Deborah. And we just decided that we had in the app a function that you can download your previous month of measurements as a report, and people were complaining about 1,000 points, so we just decided to slash it just to make it 10 points, just to have something that people understand there is value in the download, but just to make it very cheap, so nobody should complain about 10 points. This is basically 10 measurements, so you move half an hour around your neighborhood and you get that one. Next year it will be quite exciting to get the new version of the app. So of course it will be automatically updated with the new design. You can actually check the preview of the new design on our website. So roam.network should be quite simple now. We are simplifying the name a bit and also the app. So roam.network, and you can follow us also on X. The links are on the website, but Roam Network is our brand name there. And with the new app will come new integration. So all these exciting updates coming with the partners there. So I think all the community should be happy about that, because our promise that we are evolving and we are bringing the value, now we can actually finally showcase it. So stay tuned, as they say. So new year and new luck coming. And I think this will be quite exciting for everybody in the community and for us in the team to actually see the reaction of people. So looking forward for the new and exciting 2025. So I mean, that's actually crazy, quarter of a century now coming. So
oh yeah, you're making me feel old a bit there. Yeah, blockchain in general makes me feel old. So.
I still remember when this year was coming, the new century coming, and everybody was like, "Oh, is the system going to work? Are the computers going to work?" Yeah, they work now. So look at us, 25 years later. So.
Oh, I know. Well, and I it was interesting. Patrick was saying, well, I feel like we're now still early. It does, it both feels like there's huge advancements in technology, but yet still big gaps and, moving infrastructure to where it needs to be to support this big, this sort of big bang in AI and machines. But
I mean, it's unbelievable how this evolved, right? I mean, I still remember the days of the new century. Nobody thought about. Actually, even the people thinking, forward thinking about evolution tech, nobody thought about how fast this would come, how fast mobile networks would develop, how fast the whole connected world will become, the so-called Internet of Things, how fast blockchain. I mean, the whole thing of a blockchain was never even conceived and what it would mean. I mean, AI was a bit thought about, right? I think there was some good good writers talking about the laws of robotics and so forth. I think the ethics of AI was thought about, but nobody thought that this would be tangible in the lifetime. So, I could only imagine what will happen in the next couple of years. But somebody was asking me, what could you give an example to your younger self? I think the example, buy Bitcoin, even though this is not an investment example,
Yeah.
right? This is not an investment example, but I can think about myself in the past, but you never know what this would mean. So, but yeah, maybe this is a bit of a forward-looking statement at the end of the year for us.
Yeah, and I think one of the, not only just buying Bitcoin, but I think what was exciting is that, I'm back in the, milk crate and GPU days, but it's the participation, right? I mean, you're involved not only in, of course, what could potentially be a good investment, but also you're there because, you're part of something. You're part of something bigger. And this really is making, resilience and an impact. And I think that's what's so exciting is that, this wasn't possible before we had these sorts of coordination mechanisms to, help bring everyone together, to each participate what they have. And so and just a shout out, just a gratitude as we're coming to the end of the year for everyone that's been part of the Althea journey. And we've had, many validators that have worked and operators to support the Gravity Bridge, which is the only decentralized Ethereum to Cosmos bridge that existed then and existed now. So very appreciative of everyone coming together around the shared vision. Of course, now Althea, and the many different operators that utilize the protocol to help us build together. It's really just with a heart of gratitude that we move into the new year and appreciation. And I'm excited to be at this milestone in the journey with everyone. All right, with that, Mario, do you want to let us know where folks can plug in and, learn more or join the community with that call to participation?
Yes, the call for participation. Yeah, first of all, I think it was a great discussion. We learned a lot, definitely. And I'm very bullish for Deepin for 2025. And yeah, if people want to learn more about Althea, the best place is definitely go to our website, althea.net. You will find all the links there to our Discord and Twitter. Or if you just want to be on Twitter, follow us under Althea Network. You will find us there as well. And yeah, thank everyone for tuning in. And see you on the next one, I guess.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, happy holidays too.
Thank you, Althea team, for organizing this. And also from my side, thank you all for all communities to actually joining and to help us do what we do now and to help us support. And again, community contribution has been invaluable. And for all of us, let's stay connected, keep the energy high, and push forward for the purpose. I like what Deborah said. I think this was exactly the difference now in the blockchain, that everybody feels there is a purpose. And I think we as founders in our project, our main objective should be to make sure that people follow up on the purpose, and those who want to go along with us on the journey, so that you can actually support it along the way. So yeah, on this high note, so thank you guys for hosting me, and let's have a great new year. So let's move forward.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.